So our showcase tonight is all about deep fakes, and I think we've got the team here. So Emma, um, Emma, are you here as your colleague here as well? You're from?
Hey, you know, I think we might have my colleague here, or someone might be
Hey,
deep.
yeah, well, this is a presentation about deepfakes, so I thought I'd show up as the most deepfake man in America.
Oh, Rijul, welcome. Introduce yourself and
Yeah.
welcome to the call.
Well, my name's Rijul. I'm going to leave this on, actually, if you don't mind. It's kind of new from what we put together, so I want to stress test it and see how realistic it actually is when I'm actually, like talking. But yeah, my name is Rijul Gupta. I think you can look me up on LinkedIn if you want to see what I actually look like. But I'm the founder and CEO of Deep Media, a world leader in deepfake detection and GenAI disinformation. Now, I'm excited to be here today. Really appreciate the opportunity to share what we've learned and talk about our insights in deepfake detection. We get to kind of act as our own deepfake generators and red teaming, hackers ourselves in order to figure out how people are using this technology and stop it, essentially. So, yeah, I think we can keep this one pretty informal. Honestly, what we do is essentially provide a security layer to corporations and governments in their media pipelines to help them secure communications as well as content that they're seeing on their platforms from deepfake attacks. It's funny. I remember the day I founded this company because it was actually the first day I'd ever seen a deepfake video. It was back in 2017. It was this deepfake of Jordan Peele on one side and President Obama on the other. And y'all might have seen it. It went really viral back in the day. And the Jordan Peele's face and his voice and his emotions and everything was being transferred to the president, the most powerful person in the world. And it was just perfect. I remember seeing that video and I had a clear vision of the future, where as the tech got better and cheaper and faster, anything could be deepfaked. It would even happen in real time on Zoom communications. And, sometime by 2024, we might be able to actually live in this world where anything could be fake. And so I founded the company that day to provide technology to, again, governments, corporations, and even individual people to empower themselves against this type of Gen AI misinformation. So we've been in the space for a long time building. We've really focused on developing a solution that scales and adapts to new generative AI, and I'm happy to get into that in more detail. But over the past year, actually, we've been fortunate enough to power the detection efforts for large social media companies, especially around the US election. Essentially, there's a lot of deepfakes being posted over the past few months, and a lot of these big platforms needed the ability to determine what's real and what's fake. So we were able to provide that for them. We also provide deepfake detection solutions to financial institutions, generative AI providers, and governments. The United States military, as well as some of our closest allies, rely on Deep Media's deepfake detectors for content and moving forward in real-time situations like this to help keep communications secure. Really, a lot of what we do lives in APIs and on-premise deployments, but a lot of our customers actually first get familiar with our solutions through our web application. So I think I saw a question in there, is this video real or fake? You could actually just go to deepidentify.ai and log in and get access to our technology. We only allow, I think, scanning capabilities to verified users. So in order to get verified, you can contact us and we'll get you access and we start running some content through. But our goal was to make it really, really easy to see what can operate in our system and what can't, right? Like what kind of things can we actually detect? I think we're all very familiar with generative AI, that it gets so good so quickly. It's really important for us and for our customers to understand what we can actually mitigate against. And so customers can upload hundreds of thousands of documents through our API. They can deploy our system on premise, but usually when they actually start testing it, they just upload a bunch of stuff through this system. We are actually in beta right now with a couple of really interesting customers. One of the world's largest fast food companies actually is really concerned about deepfakes of their executives and of their characters being used to promote misinformation about the brand. So we've developed a system that can automatically scan and monitor content that could be generative AI disinformation about specific topics really, really easily. And so that customer just come in here, add the name of a certain hamburger mascot, and all of those generative AI deepfakes will show up in this thread. One really important part about any type of combat of generative AI today and in the future, it's about how can you operate in a system that has high precision and high recall. And so as we're thinking about generative AI, right, we're thinking about how fast and how good these systems have gotten in a short amount of time. Right, generative AI has gotten to near perfect realism. I mean, at least in the face, you tell me, but I think this one's pretty good. It would fool most people, right? Especially on like day-to-day Zoom calls if you're trying to commit financial fraud. The voice is getting close. I can share an example of the voice after this presentation. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting really good, really fast. And images is basically perfect. So we've gotten to a place where generative AI is as good as reality, right? What we've seen moving forward is the amount of content on the internet is going to just be flooded with generative AI. Now, not all of that's bad, is what I want to specify here. There's going to be a lot of generative AI that's just normal, right? It's more about in this flood of what's real and what's fake, having something to hold on to is going to be absolutely critical for high impact trust applications. So when we think about deepfakes and how they differ from generative AI, deepfakes are where generative AI meshes with disinformation. So disinformation is when people use media, information, communications to fraud, scam, and harm corporations and individuals, right? When people use generative AI to do that, that's a deepfake. The deepfakes of people on, attractive women on dating apps, those are being used as disinformation tactics to defraud people out of money, right? Those are what we'd call medium impact deepfakes. Another good example of that are the deepfake scams of people like Elon Musk. So I hope you all could hear that one, but this is a deepfake that was promoted online. This is actually used by this pump and dump crypto scam to acquire, I think it was several $100,000 worth of, defrauded currency out of investors. This is an application that is really causing hundreds of thousands and upwards of millions of dollars in financial fraud to large groups of people. Then we also have high impact deepfakes, right? That's a lot of money, but that is a medium impact deepfake specifically because no one's life is at risk, right? Again, Deep Media works very closely with a lot of government organizations. And without going into too much detail, they are very often the subjects of deepfake attacks. I can speak about, in Europe, there was examples of someone talking to a deepfake Ukraine mayor, right? I think it was a mayor of Berlin, actually. Yeah, European politicians duped into deepfake video calls with Ukrainian Kiev mayors, right? That was in 2022. The rate at which this is happening has increased significantly. Now, we don't hear a lot of people talking about it because people don't like to admit their own cybersecurity flaws, right? And people like Deep Media are actively working to protect government organizations from these scams. But generative AI and deepfakes, things like this right now, are the future of cybercrime. And so really what Deep Media does is provide tooling and technology and expertise to help corporations and governments really solve these problems. Now, when we get into things like solutions, right, I think it's important to understand the problem, but it's also important to understand solutions and where they layer into this ecosystem. So several of you might be familiar with C2PA. It's a watermarking solution developed by Microsoft and Adobe and promoted by the Content Authenticity Initiative. Deep Media is actually one of the first 10 members of the Content Authenticity Initiative. We work very closely with Microsoft and Adobe and the ITU, an international organization from the UN, to help set standards around watermarking and benchmarking and understand where things like metadata can work and where they can't. And so whenever we get a piece of content, we check for C2PA, we check for watermarking, which is either things that you can actually see on an image or more likely things that you can't see that are hidden in the metadata. or like media itself. And then we look for cryptographic hashing, which is an even further detailed way of tagging images. We see that type of material in less than 1% of the images that we scan. And so these opt-in solutions are very important, but they're not going to solve this problem as it continues to proliferate when it comes to deepfakes. And so that's where detection comes in. And so Deep Media has built a detection system that is trained on deepfakes that we create. And that's why it's so critical for us to be able to create deepfake, experiences like this, like what I'm talking right now, because this is what lets us develop solutions to those problems that achieve such high precision and recall scores. And so essentially what we do is we pipe in massive amounts of data to our system. We understand it, label it, image caption, object detection, facial recognition, age, race, gender detection, voice isolation, all of these different things, right? We then label that real data and pass it along to generative AI. We create a bunch of deepfake data that can mimic the real data and then train an overarching detection module, which can tell the difference between real and fake. We've been doing that very consistently as generative AI has gotten better, which has allowed us to create a system that adapts to new generative AI and then incorporate and wrap that into the product, right? And so all of that was machine learning. How do you actually develop solutions that work? How do you do that at scale? But then you have to develop an actual experience around that. Again, a lot of people use our API and on-premise solution, but even when they're using the API, they're often coming back to this web interface for more details. And so I talked about precision and recall earlier. The idea of precision is that when you say something's fake, you're right most of the time, right? Recall is similar, but it's different. That is like, out of these million samples, out of these million images, can I reasonably pick out the ones that are fake without having to go through a bunch of real ones, right? That's precision. How good at you are finding the needle in the haystack. And so different customers for us need different things. Large social media companies very often need high recall. They have manpower at their end to go through and double check, look up news articles, see if things really happened, go into the metadata, dig into other details about, yeah, this account was created 24 hours ago and it's using this credit card that hasn't been verified yet. All that information, right? Like, they have people who are experts in that, but they need to go through hundreds of millions of posts every month. And so can we go from 100 million to a million and reduce the workload by 99%, but in that million, we have not missed a single deepfake. We know that every deepfake is in that 1 million samples, but you're gonna our hit rate's like 50% or something after that. It's actually much higher than that. But that's what a high recall solution looks like. So as we're going through all of these images, right? These are images that were posted on social media today, yesterday, etc. All of them are coming back as real. We can go into some of these and see, if our detectors actually got this right. 1 second. Sorry, I had to move my Slack thing, or the Zoom thing. So, we go through this dashboard. This looks real to me. It is real, I can tell you. But you can actually also go back to the original post, see the context of all this, right? And confirm that this is not a generative AI image of a world leader. It is, in fact, a real image on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side was an actual deepfake, right? But what was uploaded to our system is okay, people are saying this is a deepfake. Is this one? We can say, no, this is actually real, right? And so we go through all of these images, and most of the content we get is going to be authentic right now, because it's still very early days in generative AI. But when we see one that's flagged as potentially generative AI, we get it into our system, right? See what this result, it said possibly generative AI. That means it said some evidence, which means there's about an 80% likelihood. And we could see that it actually did successfully pick up a piece of generative AI that's related to, the US elections and some type of political context. We're very confident in the score. And we can actually go down to the individual generator that was used to create this piece of generative AI. So we know that this is, high likelihood of being inauthentic. We can actually request a heat map here, which will show us the various parts of the image that came back as synthetic. And we know the generator that was used to create it, which means that we can go back to that generator source, or go back to that trust and safety team, or go back to that politician and give a very detailed explanation of why generative AI is being used to specifically harm their brand, their corporation, or that a generative AI company is not putting proper safety guidelines in their AI itself. And so that is generally how people are using tools to fight the deepfake problem. Again, this is becoming a more and more critical component to every security stack today and in the future. And as generative AI kind of gets its wings, so to speak, I mean, we just saw Notebook LM, right? That created an entire podcast with just some information. We're moving to a system where you're not going to need a human body to create a deepfake and put it on a Zoom call, right? So as generative AI becomes more and more important, and as it becomes more useful to the scammers, Deep Media has built a solution both on the tech side, a scale side, and a product usability side that we hope is going to provide the human being there under threat with some level of certainty about what's real and what's fake. So I'm happy to stop there. I want to leave time for questions and dig into the product in a little bit more detail. But yeah, hopefully that was interesting and gave you a little bit of insight about what it's like on the dark side of generative AI.
Rijul, that was fantastic. So thank you. Let's raise our hands if we got questions. So we have real fake images, real fake videos, the real fake text.
Yeah, when we think about generative AI and deepfakes, we break it down into 4 main categories. The first is text, right? And that's often associated with fake news articles or fake romance scams. The second is images, and images can be fully generated images or images that were partially real and then manipulated. The third is audio, and generally right now, audio is considered voice, right? There are AI music generators, but we're not seeing a lot of real deepfake harm, at least in our neck of the woods, come from that. And then the fourth is video, right? Now, video is actually broken down into 2. There's face video, which is like this, right? Deepfake of someone's face. And more recently, there's also text to video, which is similar to like a stable diffusion image generator, but specifically for video content. And those are actually completely different generative AI underlying algorithms. So that's why it's kind of important to break them down like that.
Really helpful. Yeah, go ahead, Calvin and JC, and then Christina. Thanks for raising your hand, Calvin.
Yeah, of course. Rijul, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Wow, that's pretty amazing. I'm so blown away. But my question is, what does the landscape look like in terms of having generative AI or maybe generative agents kind of handle that kind of detection instead of having to go to the website to kind of determine this? Would an agent be able to do this for a company?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it really depends on the applications. For compliance and regulatory driven organizations, such as social media companies, trust and safety organizations, gaming apps, dating apps, they need humans in the loop. Again, there's existing laws on the books that almost demand people are the ones doing this type of activity, right? For financial institutions that have massive call centers that actually don't have the manpower to scale to meet this problem, that is likely going to be largely driven by agents that incorporate detection technology. So you need a detector there, right, to tell you what's real and what's fake. But the person actually deciding about what gets detected and how it's actioned will almost certainly, if we all think generative AI is what it actually is, right, will be driven by agents for sure, which is kind of like part of the exciting part about like working, like using generative AI to fix generative AI problems. It's just kind of a unique nuance to the whole situation.
That's great. Go ahead, JC, then Christina. Go ahead, JC.
Yeah, no, thank you. And Rijul, this is pretty impressive stuff. When I actually just got on the call at the beginning, I was like, something is off here. There's a guy that looks different. And so it does work. My question is around the real-time aspect of things. When you spot that a video was a deepfake, or that somebody is basically doing social engineering using deepfake, if you spot that too late, the negative impact is already in place, right? So like 1 million people have seen a video that is a deepfake video. So now you can't go back in time. Same thing if somebody's stolen your password because they were pretending they were your relative, you're in trouble. So can you talk a little bit about the implications of that? The fact that deepfake detection's got to be real time, and in real time you have to be able to take action.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think an important part of like understanding how this is operating in the real world. It's one thing to be able to detect a deepfake video as fake. It's a very different thing to be able to detect out of these 100 million videos, which ones are fake, right? Out of these hundreds of thousands of audio phone calls at a call center, which one of these are manipulated? And so in order to effectively solve that problem, you have to have a system that scales and has low latency. And scale and latency are different, right? You have to be able to provide results quick, and quick means different things for those different two use cases. We've found that in the social media, news use case, a response in under 12 hours is usually fast enough to solve the problem before it becomes an issue. Things don't usually go viral. I mean, unless you're like a already known existing creator, a new post doesn't usually go viral in under a day. And so if we're scanning every 12 hours, can like pass all of that content through our system, flag the ones that are fake, and deliver that either in an automated or semi-automated results to the social media company, like where we give them the automated result, but they have a human there clicking a button saying yes, then that has so far, and generally using viral like technology and information around how things go viral, that seems to prevent a lot of that problem, right? Now, in the call center use case, that is about having, and that's more of a scalability problem, right? Because you can take an hour to like run a 30-minute post through the full detector, but you need to be able to get million 30-minute posts done in several hours, right? Now, a latency problem exists for real-time communications and financial fraud. So like this specific example of like a deep fake of Elon Musk in a Zoom call, we are building detection technology that can run in the cloud and in a person's computer to be able to run detection on everyone you're talking to. And it's not going to be immediate, but within 5 to 10 seconds, you'll be able to say with a little pop-up that says, we're pretty confident the person you're talking to is an AI, right? So yeah, those are how it's around those two different axes, the scale and latency, and they're important for different reasons to different people.
Great. Christina, then Rosemary. Oh, did we lose Christina?
Sorry, my question is related to this latency issue. For companies that are building AI solutions companies that are building products that may have video involved in them, like a Zoom or someone who's embedding video into their product capability, like Slack has with Huddle. Can they use your technology? Can they license it or use it today for that type of detection?
Yeah, so we are actually piloting right now with a few pretty big video communications, telecommunications platforms. So we're actively exploring how we're going to deploy this technology with, corporations like that. I kind of think, and so the short answer is yes, it's available and it's working. We want to make sure it works very, very well before deploying it as an actual enterprise-based solution. Making sure that we do a good job and we understand the solutions, successes, and failures in all of these cases is really important to us. We're a little bit anal around data science, as you could probably tell from this slide. But so like we want to make sure we do this right? But we're very interested in that. We're actively deploying with corporations that have the resources to help us determine those types of solutions. I kind of think it makes a lot more sense to partner with Zoom themselves without saying that specifically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And cost-wise, what does the pricing model look like?
Yeah. So for a licensing model, that is, annual licensing fee, and then all of the costs from a compute perspective would be incurred by the customer in their own cloud. So a lot of these customers do have pretty good deals with the cloud providers. Our system operates cross-cloud in AWS, GCP, Azure. We're working on Oracle right now. And so the system can kind of live anywhere. So we just, there's a flat annual licensing fee with certain support. And then as they need to scale up their own utilization, we've done a lot of work on our end to make the cloud compute requirements very, very minimal. So it scales pretty efficiently.
Go ahead, Rosemary, and then Tim.
Thanks. So this is just awesome. And my question is, and I'm going to put this link in the chat, and I was wondering if you can pull this up on your screen. Can you see that in the chat, Rijul?
Yep.
Okay, good. So this is just 7 seconds. So, the people in this room are really AI savvy people. How are we supposed to look at a video like this and determine if it's AI generated or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the short answer is upload it to deepidentifiy, and it should tell you with pretty good results, right? But if you don't have an account yet, you're not a verified user, I think there are still techniques to help an average person kind of build some type of intuition about what's generative AI and not. Like I can tell that this is generative AI. It's hard for me to describe why, but I can try. So in videos, don't look at any one frame. That is often a classic mistake people try and make, is that they pause it and look at things on individual frames. You need to look at things moving over time. That's where you're really going to determine. And so when you do that, you'll probably find certain cases, right? That individual frame, that could just be fluff. That individual frame looks like his arms. The transition between these frames, you can tell it like molds between like a bare arm and an actual just fluff around, right? Yeah, like the polar bear kind of turns into a dog for a little bit. That's a good one right there, right? The head shape changes. But again, in an individual frame, that would be hard to tell. Like just here from this frame, I would just say that that's like a weird angle, right? And over here, it looks pretty normal. But when you do like these frames in succession, you can start to see that it's manipulated. And those are the kinds of things that our detectors look for, actually. So when you go in and like are actually looking at a generative AI video, like a face manipulation video, right? Our system looks at multiple frames over time, and it can actually tell with reasonable certainty that any individual frame would be hard to determine. But as this person is moving from second 23.2 to second 24.8, there's a manipulation in the way it would normally occur, right? The lighting changes are off, or the movements of the head aren't indicative of a human being, right? It's these little subtle micro movements that humans have a difficult time telling just on a one-off basis. But in AI, when it's seen hundreds of millions of samples, it can start to determine that. And here's an example.
Go ahead, Tim, and then Lucinda.
Yeah, so I'm interested in the workflow here. So I sort of understand, I guess, for social media or any kind of a news outlet trying to identify deep fakes. I'm thinking if you are a celebrity or something like that, how does this work for them? And then in terms of outcomes, I think I heard you say just a moment ago that they'd be much more interested in sort of the consumer side, that you could do in as little as 5 or 10 seconds potentially detect a deep fake, because if you're doing things after the fact, it's relatively straightforward. But if you want to avoid a deep fake scam, you've got to do it in real time, right? So I'm just curious what workflows you're after. And I work with entertainment folks, so I'm particularly interested on the entertainment workflow.
Yeah, definitely. So our goal is to provide best-in-class deepfake detection solutions on a horizontal level. So whoever is most affected by deepfake disinformation, our goal is to help them have some semblance of reality. And so there are different workflows here. Specifically for an entertainment workflow, we've found that to be very much aligned with like our Fortune 500 consumer brand workflow. So we don't traditionally work with celebrity. We're actually starting to engage in that kind of landscape very soon, actually. But the way we imagine it going was this celebrity has certain tags and characters and names associated with them. By operating in this system, we'd be able to monitor usually these monitors work on like an hourly basis. Every time someone posts about that celebrity on one of these platforms, we'd find it and integrate it into our system. And then if there is a deep fake of that person, right, saying outrageous things or in a precarious situation, or making certain claims, promoting certain ideals, which happens more often than you'd think, our system would flag that as misinformation, as generative AI. The end user would get an email, and then we'd be able to create actually an automated report, which we could send to the social media company, which could theoretically actually be one of our other clients, suggesting that there's deep fake misinformation about this celebrity and requesting them to take it down, right? So it goes back to that response time, right? And it's about being able to handle a large amount. That's actually more of a scale issue, because it's about saying that out of these hundreds of thousands of posts about this specific celebrity, we need to run all of them, and we need to run all of them quickly, and then we need to respond to those ones pretty quick, right? The
Yeah.
individual consumer angle, that is more of a latency issue. So we've thought a lot about how to protect consumers or how to give consumers the powers to protect themselves. And there is an issue with that. Like if we open up the platform, then it becomes a lot easier for bad actors to like reverse engineer a solution against ours, right? They could create 100 deepfakes, upload this to our platform, find the 1 out of 100 that doesn't work in our system, and then use that. And so I fundamentally believe that, you know, in the era of the 90s, when people would buy antivirus on their computer, like people were responsible for their own security and safety, that's not the world we live in anymore. And I think consumers kind of expect social media companies, their telecom providers, their device manufacturers to have some type of antivirus solution. Our goal is to make it really, really easy for those companies to provide antivirus in this generative AI world to their end users.
Okay, that makes sense, but then you've got to get all these providers to cooperate and embed them. And you know, I could make a snarky remark like today the world, tomorrow the telcos.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy, that's for sure. Right.
And then
but
there's
I think
also
that's the best
internal
version.
networks within corporations. So the one that happened, where was it, in Singapore or Hong Kong or somewhere, where they got 25 or $50 million, right, by deep faking executives. So those aren't probably going to be solved directly by outside vendors. I can't. Well, maybe they should. I mean, how would you approach that problem?
Yeah, so at financial institutions and corporations, they often work with identity management providers, security providers. Our goal is to plug in directly into that workflow, right? I think it's important for us to get distribution and get distribution very fast. And so our goal is to leverage existing networks and existing distributors and like provide this technology through them to the end user as quickly as possible.
Okay, and then there is the arms race problem. So right now, your approach is keep it private as much as possible. But it strikes me there's still going to be an arms race. Maybe they won't be as good, but they can still. I mean, how do you think about the arms race problem?
Yeah, it's very astute of you to bring that up, because that is I mean, it's classic for, you know, antivirus, where there's always new antivirus and there's always new viruses released and there's this constant battle. We're seeing the same thing in generative AI, that as new generative AI is released, our detectors start to degrade if they're not kept up to date. And so what we've done specifically is build a system that easily and quickly adapts to new generative AI. And I can give you a specific example. So there was this new image generator called Flux, right? Came out a few months ago, very high quality. Yeah. Many people probably heard about it. Yeah. Originally in our system, we got about an 80% accuracy the day it came out. 2 weeks later, we had it in our system. We trained our own version of Flux on real data. We created a bunch of deepfake data. We updated our detectors and deployed that with our customers. And it achieved above a 95% accuracy very, very quickly. So it's not, there are 0-day attacks, and it's not a 100% solution, but we have developed a solution that does adapt very quickly and very efficiently to new generative AI.
Okay, we'll get 2 more minutes. We'll go quickly. Go, Lucinda, and then Calvin.
Yeah, just a quick question. All right, so so this is really to do a lot of the automation of this, right? I imagine there's certain clients that you have that have really high value of you know, avoiding it, being 100% sure or whatever that there isn't a deep fake. Do you have like a human also workflow in this as well? Because I did a project with a company where basically it was anti-IP theft, where the IP theft could be worth up to $25 million. It was super valuable. And so we ended up doing, for the precision recall, have a threshold of 7%, and anything with over 7% probability, it was like, yep, we flagged that. And that even though it was still a lot of things they had to look into that were false negative. No. Anyway, that it turned out to be not false positive, right? It wasn't really a problem.
No, it gets confusing really quick, right?
Yeah.
And so we've tried to develop a system that makes it easy to understand. In fact, in our product, we actually have a bucketing system where it's broken down into, you know, probably real, possibly generative AI, which is a high recall bucket, and probably generative AI, which is a high precision bucket.
Yeah.
But even further than that, we have subdivisions which actually have real determined benchmarks behind them. Our goal is not to provide services, right? We don't want to be a services company. We want to be a product company. But
Okay.
an effort of that, we do have to educate the end user and provide tools for experts to use this technology to provide value, right? And so we probably wouldn't be the we do provide customer support, especially for our bigger clients, to help them interpret. That's a short-term goal. A longer-term goal is to integrate an LLM that's seen enough deepfakes in the wild to be able to explain this like a human being, right? So it says, here's the content, here's the context, here's the results, here's the, you know, actual precision recall curve of those results, here's the analysis, right?
This is
All right, thank you.
great. We're going to pause on open mic. Calvin, take us home. Last question. Yeah, Calvin, you're on mute.
Thank you, thank you. Really quick, Rijul, I know you mentioned starting the company about 6 years ago, and so my question really quick is like, how has your vision changed over the last 6 years in comparison to like what we see now?
Yeah, I mean, even from day one, the mission of this company was to pioneer generative AI alongside detection capabilities to make sure it was used ethically. And that has not changed, right? I think definitely the level of understanding I have and the company has about how hard this is has changed, right? It was so much, it always is, classic, but it was so much harder to build this system than we thought it was going to be, right? And it took us longer, took us more money than we thought. It also took the market a lot longer to catch up than we thought, right? But now in the moment where people need detection solutions and we have the best and most mature product on the market, that vision that, you know, Emma and I had so many years ago is really finally coming to fruition. And so it's one of those stories about persistence and sticking it through to the end, no matter what.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you, Rijul and Emma, and best of luck. This is obviously a really important area for the whole industry, and super exciting to see your vision happen. And we hope you guys get lots and lots of sales, and come back in 6 to 9 months and give us an update, because I'm sure the world has changed a lot by then. So
yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And Calvin,
Yeah.
folks who are new for the first time, join us next week, and have a great week, everyone. Thank you.